going to connect in now. I believe the Archangel Michael is going to come through and answer the question that's going to be asked. So it'll take me a few seconds. And I've asked Archangel Michael to identify himself when he comes through. And we have Charna once again, beloved Charna, through Zoom, and she's going to feed the question. Dearly beloved, Michael is here to answer whichever question you have.
Thank you for joining us today. The question is, what is the value of forgiveness?
The value of forgiveness is to free yourself of the burden of holding grudges, of anger, of hatred, or the inability to forgive one for any wrongdoing or perceived wrongdoing another has perpetrated upon you or upon another that you care about, or for any reason for that matter. It may not even be a personal reason, you see. It may be a public figure that has done something that you feel is egregious, or may even be egregious. And yet, it is perfectly understandable that you feel anger if you feel distrust towards this individual. But do know that just as you are, this person is a part of a fractal of creation, of Creator himself, herself, however you wish to refer to all that is. It really does not matter. It does not matter, for there is no separation within the divine creator. When you can not trust, not even have to like a specific individual, but when you can forgive them in your heart, you then release yourself. You release not only them, but you release yourself. You release yourself because you are no longer holding that connection. For just as love creates a connection, so does anger, hate. You may dislike an individual for what they have done or how they behave. But forgiveness is perhaps the greatest gift you may give yourself. Forgiveness towards that other. And we are not, again, asking you or suggesting that you need to like that individual. But what we tell you here is that you can still forgive and let it go, for all is known in creation. There is no such thing as something that has gone unnoticed. And this is not to say that there is an eternal punishment for one who has done evil. but there is always a balance, we would say. And it is most important that you concentrate on your own balance within yourself and let go any hatred or animosity that you may feel or inability to forgive someone. But do remember that as you may have those that it may be hard to forgive, the majority of individuals who have incarnated on this planet, the majority of souls have also done similar, either within this current lifetime they're in or in previous lifetimes. And many have learned from those actions, mistakes. Many have evolved on from there. And there is always, always, always the ability to evolve, for there is an inner drive. It may take lifetimes, it may not take a lifetime, it may take one lifetime. It may take a moment of clarity within an individual. But there is always the seeds of evolution and growth of the spirit, so that what was once what could be perceived as unforgivable actions or statements can then be an impetus for the growth of the soul. Is this making sense so far?
To a degree, yes. There's part of it that's more difficult to understand, particularly if we have felt as though somebody has done something that's egregious and it impacts, it doesn't add to the greater care of all. And it's difficult to forgive those types of people, if that makes sense.
Yes, this is very understandable, for you are in the physical embodiment, in the physical realm. And so you experience and you view things from the standpoint of an embodied physical being. And therefore, you see that there are those who have committed egregious acts against others, perhaps even against you. And we do not pretend to understand the experience, for we have not experienced this ourselves. But when you hold on to unforgiveness, if you hold on to the inability to forgive a being, we say one more time, you need not like this individual, you need not want to support or be around this individual. But when you forgive, you untie the bond that is between you and that individual. For when you cannot forgive another, whether that person is known to you or whether that person is not known to you, whether they are still embodied in the physical or they are not embodied in the physical, you are creating an attachment. You are creating a bond. And the more unforgiveness, the more anger that you feed into this, it tightens this bond. It creates restriction within your being. Is this making sense so far?
Yes.
And we would also say that equally hard is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for any wrongs you have done to others, or that you have perhaps done or thought about yourself. Or there are many who feel badly. They feel they are not good. They do not love themselves. They cannot love themselves, for they feel that they are not worthy, they are not good enough, and therefore they do not deserve it. And those who have done so for extended periods in a lifetime may have manifested within their reality less than desirable situations and outcomes that have been manifested in large part due to the energy of unforgiveness of the self. And then if one becomes aware of that, they may feel they cannot forgive themselves for having held on to that energy for so long. But there is no need to hold on to that. If you knew better when you did, thought, or said, or treated someone or treated yourself, if you knew better at the time, you would have done better. If you were ready and in the stage of consciousness where you would have been able to, you would have done differently, but you cannot go back and reverse it. So many feel that the only option is to hold on to this anger and self-flagellation. And we say this is not needed, this is not necessary, and only binds you, only ties you to the heavy vibration of unforgiveness. There have been instances where in courtrooms, parents or family of victims of horrible crimes have told in their victim statements or at the end of a trial that they forgive the killer of their loved one. And many will feel, how can this be? And this is understandable. This is even enraging to some, that one may have the audacity to forgive one who has perpetrated such a horrible crime or abuse upon another. And yet, as much as the forgiveness is for the criminal who did the unthinkable, the forgiveness even more powerfully is for the survivor or the victim, if the victim has survived. For it frees them from the bond of this being that committed the horrible crime. You see,
I do.
there was a connection. And when you hold on to the hate, the anger, the unforgiveness, you strengthen that bond. You may not even feel that you can love a certain soul, but do know that at the highest levels, that you are all connected, and that there is no hate at the highest levels. This does not mean that you open yourself up, we say, to those who have ill intentions towards you. We do not say that. You must remain aware, you must remain alert while you are embodied or otherwise. But to hold on to the inability to forgive merely strengthens the bond between you, and that heaviness of energy affects not only yourself and possibly the physical vessel which you inhabit, but also affects they whom you cannot forgive. And perhaps even in many ways makes it more difficult for them to evolve out of the vibratory frequency that they are currently in. Does this make sense?
It does. Thank you.
There was a plan in place, and this is difficult to express in a way that will not upset some. There is a plan in place. And that meeting, that encounter, was not completely unplanned, you see. But that is another discussion. We will say that for now, when you forgive yourself or another, you release constriction within your being, within yourself. Or do you remember when you were a child and you either forgave your parent for not letting you do something that you so wanted to do or have something that you so badly wanted? And then there was a loving interaction between you and that parent afterwards. And do you remember the lightness of being you felt? Or when you did something that your parents were not happy about, and then you apologized and they forgave you? Do you remember, do you recall the lightness of being that you felt at that time? That was the releasing of blame. It was the releasing of a heaviness within yourself. This happens in the same way when you release the inability to forgive. However, it may be more difficult for if you have held on to this emotion, this stuckness for an extended period of time. It may take longer, a little bit longer for it to unravel. But it may be done, it may occur quickly. It depends on how much you are willing to release. For when you cannot forgive another, and this is a strong point that may better display the benefits of the ability to forgive, you free yourself, you release heaviness within yourself, and you weaken any connection between. Depending on the individual, you do release the connection between you and that other individual to need to relive a form of karma, a form of balance in the future, you relieve much of that by releasing the anger, the hostility, the hate that you may feel for such an individual. It weakens the bond so that each may more likely than not go their own ways in future incarnations or future interactions. But do know that at the highest level, all fractals of all that is will eventually reemerge together, free of the hatred and unforgiveness that will be a thing of something that once was, but need be no more. Does this make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Always carry within your heart the ability, or at least the potential, to forgive. This does, once again, and we repeat this for this need be pointed out. This does not mean that you trust every single soul who is inhabiting a body within this lifetime. There are those that cannot be trusted within this lifetime because they are at a different level of development. This does not mean superior, inferior. It means they are not at the level you are at, but they are at a level where you once were and where you are in previous lives, or shall we say, alternate tendrils that reach out from your higher self. They are at that level that you are in this lifetime not currently a part of. Therefore, it pays to be aware. For there need not be this interaction. When you look within yourself, you trust your instincts, but you also release the inability to forgive, and you open yourself to that possibility to do so when you feel you are ready to do so. I am Archangel Michael. You are blessed. You are loved. Go at peace.